Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Seddon and Laceys Comic Stash. And we are digging our hands through the utter quagmire of bullocks and shit that
The,
is,
the filth and muck that's at the bottom of that barrel, isn't it?
is really dragging our hands around the utter gush that is the worst in films in comic book land. And we are picking our top 5 worst films.
We for anyone who watches this in any of our other ventures, especially the Renaissance Men, I think they'll be very used to me like being very negative and hating everything. And I think when they probably watch me on here, we're a lot more, I don't want to say lighter, we're still ourselves, but I think we're playing in worlds more often than not that we like, aren't
Yeah.
we? So I think there's a lot more positivity here than there. But I kind of had hit a breaking point. We've been too positive for too long, and it's time to get down and dirty, kids. It's down to, I don't know, work out some of those inner demons that we've got about some of the worst stuff that's out there. And unfortunately, I think the truth of it is that movies are the worst pick for this. Don't get me wrong, there's some terrible comic books out there, but I think weighted wise, it's a lot more even. Whereas I think in the movie universe, there's some horror shows, and we'll get into what they are and why they're horror shows as we go on, because I think there's different criteria as well in our heads as to what has made something hit a worse movie. And it's not just that they're bad. There's
Yeah.
other wrinkles that make it even more egregiously bad than just bad writers, bad directors, and bad actors.
Yes. But before we start trolling our way through the immense amount of shit, let's have something positive and go to our happy place, our reading corners.
In my reading corner this week, again, thanks very much to, I keep wanting to say Kindle Unlimited as if it's a mysterious benefactor, but eventually, if I forget to cancel it, I am going to have to start paying. But at the moment, free delivery of it. I've played around again in a very happy and nice home for me. I downloaded, and it is the complete collection, and it is from the Marvel Knights run. So this is when Marvel allowed non-Marvel contracted people to have some of their characters. Daredevil being one of them, a Punisher being another. We'll never do the Punisher one, by the way. It's awful. But they also let the Marvel Knights brand, let's say, have Black Panther. And Black Panther is a character that I'd seen sporadically in the Avengers, but never really had much to do with. And there's a run by Christopher Priest. And I think it's fair to say that this comic book never sold well. It was on the verge of being cancelled multiple times, but the people who loved it, and goddamn, I was one of those people. And I think it's just an amazing run of comic books. Now, I'm going to flit out of this very quickly because I have only caught up with the first 3 issues of it, but already it's reminded me why I love it so much. And I think probably for the next reading corner, I will be banging through the rest of this, and I'll probably go a little bit more in depth. But it's just smart, funny superhero telling that meant a lot to me at the time, because I think it really was when I was tiptoeing into I want more than just the good guy punches the bad guy, and this scratched an itch at the perfect time for me.
Nice.
And something that I will force feed down your throat at some point in 52 years' time when we've got through some of this backlog.
There's only 1 or 2 things we've got, on the list.
Yeah. And how about yourself? What have you been up to in your reading corner?
So I have hit some more freebies. So I have read Ms. Marvel Infinite #1.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Which I liked the book and how it was and what it was saying. What I didn't like was how it was done on Comixology.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the Comixology ones because
Yeah.
it pops up the panels each time. And
yeah, it was specifically designed, wasn't it, to interact with the software. And I'm with you. I've found these odd. I didn't find it added to the experience. I found it detracted from the experience.
Yeah, it was like I was like, ooh, I'm not sure I like how this is done with these ones. I'm not sure if it's the Infinite brand and it was just done as a digital. They are digitally only type stories, and that's how they. It was
Yeah.
a play in the field, but yeah, wasn't a fan of the way it was delivered. But I liked what I read.
It's the I want to say it's Adrian I think it's Adrian Alphona's the artist on it, and G. Willow Wilson is the writer, and they do a lot of the early Miss Marvel stuff. So you have got the right team or the right creative team on it to do something good.
Yeah,
But yeah, I didn't enjoy my Infinite experience, and I think in good news now, there's quite a few bits out there that are called Comixology Originals, which is them really trying to, I guess, do what Netflix does, which is have some stuff that is procured and created for it, but it doesn't lean so heavily into this sort of stuff. But I guess this is the early days and they're trying out the bells and whistles. You know, we've said before, how do you bring comics to a modern audience? And I think maybe they felt that this was a more interactive way of doing it. But no, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of it functionality wise.
yeah. The next one, oh my, this was a fucking crock of shit.
I thought we were being positive, Chris.
Lou Ferrigno's Liberator
Do you know
Zero.
what? I've never even heard of it, but um, when you said Lou Ferrigno's Liberator, I went, I can kind of see probably why this wasn't going to be a banger.
So this is a tie-in to a 20-minute short film and is 5 pages of you just seeing Lou Ferrigno as this guy about to go on a chat show. And then the rest of it's just promo pictures from the film. It was a waste of time. And it was like, it does not make me want to go and pay money for any more of them. This was
I just, I was going to look it
dreadful.
up.
And this is
Uh,
what makes me think that the freebie crack
oh, there'll be some
idea
dross, wouldn't
does
there? Yeah, as
not
well.
work
Yeah.
when they do it like this.
Well, imagine again, I guess for you who's just experienced this and said how bad it is. Like, imagine if this was your first one and you went, "Well, I'm never
Yeah.
reading another comic book ever again." Funnily enough, I went on to not one that I'd heard of and not one that I'd read, but I went on to Amazon to see it just so I could kind of see the cover, and I found the I found it, let's say. But before I found it, I also found that there are 3 bands out there with singles called Lou Ferrigno. So I'm interested in that more than I am the comic book as you've just described it. In bad news, there seems to be a issue 2 of it that costs £2.28. I'm guessing that you're not going to come back to get more.
But no, 'cause this was issue 0,
Oh
so
God! So there's an issue
there's
1 that probably costs as well. Oh God!
yeah, which that's not going to be revisited.
There
The
you go.
next
I mean,
one,
it's so rare, though, isn't it? That like, because I think generally everything we've been doing, we've been saying, "Yeah, this is good. This is good." It's nice to kind of have a stronger void to offer out there.
yeah.
Don't crack onto this.
The next one was one that I just looked at because I was like, oh, it's free. I'll have a look. Was DC Superheroes Girls #1?
Oh, I don't think I know this one
This
either.
is basically sort of young girl versions of the DC female roster. So you've got Batgirl, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, um, Wonder Woman in there. And it's not for me. I am not the audience for this. This is very much for kids. But it's not bad. It was fun. It was about dinosaurs.
Hmm?
And if I had a 6, 7 year old girl, I would quite happily hand that to them and go, there's your entry point.
I said to you recently, didn't I? I was rereading the Tiny Titans, which I think skews to a very young audience, and I didn't really feel like it skewed to boys more than girls or vice versa. But I don't know. But yeah, I've just had a quick look at it, and certainly the art style looks like a kind of a cross between Western Saturday morning cartoon and anime, doesn't it? And I think
Yeah.
I think this would skew very much from a visual standpoint, yeah, towards young girls. And yeah, as we said, like a lot of this is about finding ways to bring a new audience in, and yeah, it looks like it would be a relatively good product from that point of view.
And that's the thing. It's one of those, like as I said, the story was good. You know, they a time traveling bus on a field trip, go back to the prehistoric days. Uh, Dinosaur attacks their bus, breaks it in half, and they've got to, get out of the trouble they're in. The story was, as I said, good story, well done. It's just I'm not the target audience.
Yeah,
It said it's good for what it is. Will I go back and read more? No. But as I said, if I had a girl and didn't have, a boy, I would
well,
very
one
much
of
be like, read this.
but one of the nice things is that like now that you know it exists, like if in sort of casual conversation along the way with someone you work with or someone you meet in a pub, or like even like through will of kind of going, oh, is there anything you'd recommend for if like, if you've got a young sort of like less than 10-year-old girl who you might want to introduce to it, then you now got someone in your locker to say, yeah, give this a go, and there's a free issue of it on Prime Reading.
Yeah. And last but not least is the behemoth has been cracked.
Bloody hell.
I have started Nightfall 2.
My eternal guilt is kicking in. My shame.
As we do need to
Coming
get on that
soon.
one. Because
Coming soon. Nightfall episode 2.
yeah, not that we've been holding back to not do it and be like, can we have some, fun stuff first? But yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think like, I mean, it's one of, obviously we took it on early doors. It was one of the first things we talked about doing. And I think because it was a big book and the way we did it, we really did go in depth, and we do have intent to have these chunkier in depth ones. But I think, because of the size of it, and maybe because of where it ended, we wanted to do some varied episodes before we got back to it. Like almost make these a bit more sort of tempo. I know over Christmas, obviously, we did some specials, which were smaller stories, but of a similar kind of idea. But yeah, Nightfall, we are doing Nightfall 2, and then we are doing Nightfall 3.
3. Yes.
I'm trying to
We
remember
will.
even what the kind of monikers are for it as it goes forward. But yeah, we are going through the whole kit and caboodle, and we will get there. But yeah, we just wanted a little break between the two. And then, as we say, we always read this stuff as close to the show as we can to kind of I don't know, to get that thoughts and feelings in our head. And it doesn't mean we're going to remember everything exactly. God, the amount of times we have to Google stuff on here, but I think certainly so the flavors and the feelings we had from it are fresh in our minds, rather than going, oh yeah, I'm sure I remember 10 years ago I liked that. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Nightfall 2 coming soon when we've both read it.
When we've got through all 650 pages.
Yeah, and like for people who read 650-page books like it's going out of fashion, I think part of it is that it's not even so much the length of it, but it is a lot of one single story in one go, and a lot for us to kind of take on board and work through how we're going to do it. But yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I won't ask you what you think about it so far, because that's a 4-hour podcast somewhere down the line.
That is.
Yeah.
But what we will do is go into shit films, and
Shit films.
as we both know, said, how many times was your list of top 5 or worst 5 actually a list of 25?
I think every time I say this about every top 5, I go, oh, this one was the hardest one. This one was really hard, because there is some awful movies out there. I think I found it quite hard to narrow it down to 5. And I think within that 5, I think I found it kind of hard to narrow down ranking. But I think I've got there. A few have changed from like 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and stuff like that. But well, 1 and 5 have been pretty solid for a little while now. But yeah, I guess when we actually get into them, we'll talk about why they make our top 5, and I think that will allow us maybe to speak a little bit more to how and why we might have found it difficult, because there's so many criteria that can make a film bad.
Yes.
And superhero ones seem to lean into all of them along the way.
So some honourable mentions. I will get mine out of the way first. There are two here that may have ended up on the list if I'd have ever actually watched the whole thing. That tells you what I think of both of these.
Okay.
It is the 1990 Captain America film and the 1990s Nick Fury film,
Yeah.
both of which got turned off halfway through.
Yeah.
So I've never seen them all the way through. They may have some sort of amazing comeback second part to them, but I'm not going to
I
imagine
don't.
them. They were
I can
both dull
say.
as fuck.
I can say no. I quite happily tell you that you made a good, solid decision. Honourable mentions for me, and my God, there are so many. But the ones that
Oh,
like,
I have more.
oh, sorry.
I have more. These two were the ones that could have got higher if
Oh,
I'd have actually finished seeing them.
yeah,
But others on my list: Catwoman. Fuck you, Halle Berry. You are shit, and everything about that film is
I think you'll
shit.
find that's a fuck you, Oscar-winning actress Halle Berry.
The Crow, City of Angels. Fuck you. You are
I,
awful.
I,
And then led into the awful TV series.
yeah,
But in my research for finding other films, I have found out that there have been two more Crow films made, one of which in 2005 with David Boderes and Tara Reid in.
whoa.
My sick thing wants to actually see it to see how fucking awful that is.
I'm just going to get up an app now to see if it's on streaming anywhere. So you carry on with your honourable mentions while I try and find out whether this shit show is available to us. There's an episode.
X-Men 3, Last Stand, just being utter bollocks and how they fucked the Phoenix story. And seeing how they put in shit tons of extra X-Men, where was Gambit? Fuck you. One that is, it could be classed as so bad it's good, but it's not really. The Return of the Incredible Hulk, also known as Hulk versus Thor. Going
That
back to
that
Lou Ferrigno,
that one, I will say, I'm going to put a confession in here. That one is so bad it's good in my book. That one would got nowhere near my top 5 because I fondly remember it, but fondly remember it in a sick pervert kind of way of going, this is terrible, but I could watch it over and over again for hilarity.
and the last two on my honorable mentions list: Punisher '89, Dolph Lundgren,
Mm-hmm.
and Punisher 2004 with John Travolta. Both utter gush and terrible portrayals of a fucking awesome character. I know there's a third one, like War Games, I think it's called, but I've not watched it.
War Games.
Because let's face it, we're already 2-0 for terribleness. Do I really want the hat trick?
Marvel wise, some of the ones you mentioned there, like the Cat one, the Nick Fury one, Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, although that's got a very kind of potted history as to why it's bad rather than necessarily they intended to make something good and it turned out bad. Lundgren's Punisher, and to an extent, Stallone's Judge Dredd fits into kind of this category for me, and probably Crow City of Angels is that they didn't make my consideration even for the top 5, so wouldn't get my honorable mentions just because I feel like they were always destined to fail. Now that doesn't make them not bad, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I always feel sorry for them as an idea and as a concept, and they were kind of thrown out there to die. People were just buying licenses for fun rather than for any kind of real concept behind it. But honorable mentions for me, Catwoman's in my honorable mentions as well. It's a terrible movie. I think, and my honorable mentions are all ones that I did legitimately consider for the top 5 at a certain point. Catwoman's just terrible. I think it's just a terrible movie. And actually, one of the things that I think saved it from being in here is that it bears no relation to Catwoman.
No.
So I almost kind of don't think of it as a as a superhero movie anymore because of that. By the same token, Elektra, almost the Marvel equivalent of Catwoman, where they just went, we kind of fancy making an Elektra movie. I think they gave it to someone who'd never read Elektra and neither wanted to, and went, I've kind of got a rough script for a movie. I will use Jennifer Garner and we'll call it Elektra because more people might come along. Then we get into the wonderful, wonderful world of the Justice League. And I cannot determine between Whedon nor Snyder's version because they're both a fucking abomination. And I feel like they should be on my top 5 worst movies, but I didn't want to give them credit of making a top 5 anything. And by the same token, Birds of Prey, or whatever the bloody hell the long title for that movie is, the Emancipation of Harley Quinn and the blah 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 blah, cuddling itself as it goes into the fiery depths of hell, cuddling and holding on to Suicide Squad at the same time and taking that with it, because these are just really bad movies and really bad movies with a budget. I think in another universe that have made this list, they did not make this list because I think there are worse examples of what these movies do or don't do well. And my last one, and this is the one that was so close to making the list, in fact was on there in many iterations, is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I almost, and I still haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home. One of the main reasons why I struggle with the idea of going to see Spider-Man No Way Home is the idea of having to see Electro Jamie Foxx style on my screen ever again. So bad that it made me physically shake with anger in the cinema as I was watching it. And a character that I'd grown to like, I actually quite liked Amazing Spider-Man. I liked Garfield. I liked Emma Stone in it. When it got to Amazing Spider-Man 2, I went, okay, I'm in. I think they're building a Spider universe that I'm at least happy with. And then that come out and hated it. But yes, those were very, very, very close to making the list.
So we will go into our top 5s, and I'll start.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing to the table of shitness National Treasure Tom Holland fucking murdering Venom. This film is just utter garbage. It's boring, it goes nowhere, it doesn't hold Venom up as he should be. They try and play it for laughs, but there are none. It is just fucking dross.
Have you seen the second one?
No.
No, neither have I.
Because after that first one, I don't want to.
I share some of your feelings, maybe not quite the level of vitriol you have for it, but certainly in the boring front. I mean, this movie is boring, isn't it? And I love Tom Hardy. The man's like an acting beast in my book. And when I saw the cast, I thought, wow, this is really kind of interesting casting here. And maybe they're going to do. I mean, I love like Bronson, where he plays like the gangster killer Bronson, and it's just an amazing. And again, of course, directors and writers have something to do with this. But I thought, God, are they really going to let like Tom Hardy unleash like he's in himself? And instead, no, they just seem to write the most blandest, boringest story ever. And do you know why it didn't even make my honourable mentions? I feel sorry for it. I feel sorry for it in the way of they'd bought the license. Obviously, they had the Spider-Man universe license as a company. And I think, they've handled it quite well with the Spider-Man movies. But I think they were going, God, we need to cash in. And I think fundamentally what makes this so off-putting for me, and again, why it kicks out of the list, is that they don't tie him to Spider-Man at all. So you get this ridiculous thing of going, he's got no links to Spider-Man like he does in the comics. So why the fuck is he dressed like an evil version of Spider-Man? It makes no sense. And Yeah, I almost pity this more than hate it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm with you. It's really bad. It is really bad, and it's really boring. I
Yeah.
think that's its most egregious thing of going. You've taken a character that in pretty much every format people have ever put it in before is
It's awesome.
is awesome, yeah, and you've made him so bland, yeah, and a great cast. What a shame as well, because I felt like the actors were there going, oh god, if only we'd have read the script before we signed the contract, is what I felt like they were doing. But yeah,
So
a
what is
grand pick, but yeah, I just couldn't. I couldn't quite put it in
you
mind.
couldn't give it a kicking because it's already had enough.
Yeah, yeah, it was too boring to make a top five. I guess was probably the truth of it.
So what is your number 5?
It's a number five for me, and I think it might not make some people's top fives because I think going back to what we said earlier about the Hulk movie, that it could be so bad it's good. I think some people might have a little bit of a kind of cult affection for this, but no, number five for me is Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. I we said before I'm not a big Superman fan in general, but I actually do quite like Superman 1 and 2. I have some big faults with it, and I begrudgingly like Superman 3. But that's the one where I kind of go, this is so corny, it's good. And then you hit Superman 4, which is done on a shoestring budget. I mean, God, if you watch this movie, like they don't even bother to hide the fact that they're using the same flying scene over and over and over and over again to save budget. So from that side, there's kind of no rescuing it. But all of the charm that Donna built up in that universe, and it really was one that I think kind of spoke more to the 30s, 40s, 50s of Superman in those original movies, and Reeve himself. All of that's disappeared, and I think in their head they were going to tell this really meaty story about nuclear disarmament and how the world should be better and Superman's place in it. And instead, they create the shittest villain ever. I mean, God, how did this guy ever, one, be created, and two, the actor who plays him is atrocious. They create a Nuclear Man who effectively takes out Superman by scratching his neck. It is the pits. It is, and I think again why it makes my list, and this is stuff we're going to get as we go through this, is this killed a franchise. This killed a franchise that was doing still well enough. Superman 3 had
Yeah.
done well enough, and I know there are again bits around the story where another company with less money bought it out, but this is when comic book characters done badly could have a really negative effect. There was a big gap before we saw someone have a crack at another major motion picture. You know, we're going to Burton coming in to do Batman after this, because this almost killed superhero movies, because people saw this, it is shit, it is terrible, and it almost destroyed a genre of movie.
Yeah. It is not good. I watched it once and went, I never need to see this again.
I wish I
That's
was
it.
you. I wish I'd only ever seen it once, but I've unfortunately tried it a few times now, and it doesn't get any better.
So we have some listener picks. So
Yeah.
one of them from my buddy Pete Kimber from the Wrestling 20 Years Ago podcast. He's gone Green Lantern, Silver Surfer, Ghost Rider, Venom, and then Catwoman, but
Well,
in
I
no
mean,
particular order.
there's one of your top five in there, and one that made both of our honourable mentions. So you know, again, we're not too far off kilter with our audience. That's a good sign.
No. So number 4 for me, the Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. This for two reasons. One, it's just utter shit. And two, what the fuck did they do to the Silver Surfer?
Yeah.
Why did they rape him so hard? If you've ever watched that episode of South Park where um, Spielberg's raping Indiana Jones, this was Marvel raping Silver Surfer. This was
Noticeably again, it's one of their franchises that was outside of their control. You know, they'd sold it off to is this, I can't remember, is this Fox or I can't,
Fox, yes, this was part of the X-Men deal.
yeah, you kind of go, this is the danger of licensing your products out to other people and letting them do what they will with it. And sometimes they do things like this.
Yeah, even the joy of Jessica Alba in skin tight suits does not work for this film.
Well, not to do a bit of a spoiler, but we may have a bit more about Jessica Alba coming up later.
But yeah, this is fucking gash.
Yeah, it is terrible. It is terrible. Yeah, the first one's bad as well, isn't it? Like,
To be
let's be
fair,
honest.
you could have put either of these two in. I haven't seen the redo that they
I
did
think
a
I
few
think the
years later, but
the redo would potentially make it into a lot of people's top 5 worst, because I think actually on paper, as disgusting as this is going to sound, that potentially the last one, the redo, is probably the worst movie of them all. But where it wouldn't make my list over this is that they don't fuck up so many good stories that have come before. And
yeah,
actually, it's quite clear and it's quite renowned that the director probably had a okay at best movie there, but no, sorry, an okay movie at least. And the studio got really involved. And there's
yeah,
even stuff that's in the trailer that doesn't make it into the film because the studio just go, no, we're not paying for that. So, you know, things like that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, as much as that's probably more of a car crash, that feels like a studio director conflict car crash rather than it
just
being
being utter
just being a
shit.
turd. Yeah.
So what makes your number 4?
So you've mentioned this one already, but it comes in at number 4 for me is X-Men 3 or X-Men: The Last Stand, which like again going back to what I said about Superman, probably should have and could have been the last stand of the X-Men in movies, and possibly could have been and should have been the last stand of superhero movies based on Marvel characters. X-Men 1, you go back and watch it now, I think it shows its age, it creaks a bit. X-Men 2, again, you know, like I think it has some real positives, but isn't as good as maybe remember it. But I think both of them pushed comic books into something that was viable for movies. And then X-Men 3 comes along. This film is garbage. Much like you were just saying, then one of the big criteria it does on this takes one of the most iconic, renowned, and loved stories in comic book history in the Phoenix Saga, and I still can't tell you. I've seen this movie a few times now. I can't tell you what happens with the Phoenix Saga in this movie because I just still don't understand it. I just don't get what they did, and like weird random stuff. And I think this is where movies are sometimes out of control. But like you have Jean killing Cyclops really early, but that's because there'd been a disagreement and he was pissing off to go and join the Superman universe. So that's why he wanted to be written out of it and things like that. You just go, just don't put him on camera. But from a cinematic building, so I think without the X-Men and without a few of these tentpole moments, we wouldn't be where we are now, and probably even been able to do something like this and have people potentially watch because there'd have been it would have been much more a niche audience. It did so well only to do this on top of it, and this is fucking garbage. I actively hate it. I think it's you know, like I think it should be burnt out of existence. I don't think it should be acknowledged anymore, including later on in the in the X-Men cinematic universe, them actually writing it out of existence by doing a storyline which effectively gets rid of it. That's how bad this movie is.
Yes. So next listener part entry is my boy Yelly, who has gone with Turtles 3,
I don't think I've
Elektra.
seen it, by the way. I don't think I've seen Turtles 3.
I think that's the one with Kevin Nash as Shredder. I think.
Oh God, I'm definitely in there. I'm
3.
finding this one as well. That's joining me. That's joining in Crow 3 list of shit I need to watch.
Elektra, Batman and Robin, Green Lantern, and one I've not heard of, but I had to look up to see what it was. Steel.
Oh
Shaq
yeah. Shaquille
as a
O'Neal, yeah.
superhero.
I would say it's in Shaq is in there with the kind of Nick Fury and Captain America and Corman Fantastic Four range for me of going. They clearly had Shaq signed up for a movie deal. They went, what should we put him in? We'll put him in a comic book franchise still, but other than that, it pretty much bears no relation to Steel as a concept in the comic books either, other than he wears a really bad metal suit in it. So yeah, I can see why it makes people's top fives, but it wouldn't make mine again because of that. It never had a chance. You know, it was a made for TV in another universe, and they just fucking got pure garbage. But probably would be one of those ones where if you've had a few beers and you're with some mates, you'd slam it on to laugh at it more than get angry at it.
Yeah. So here is something that you would not put on to have a laugh. You would only get angry with. Is my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Eyes to see you.
Okay.
Batman and Robin. This killed a great moment of Batman being a big film thing for at least 10 years between that and Nolan coming back with
Yeah.
Dark Knight.
I almost didn't go and watch Dark Knight because the taste of this was still in my mouth 10 years later.
You know, this is just shit. You've got Bat Nipples. You've got Alicia Silverstone being shit, as she is in most things. Chris O'Donnell is awful as well.
If I had my Clueless pops close by, I'd be disputing that right now.
Clooney as Batman.
I like Clooney, but he's fucking terrible as Batman. And although, again, I say that I do not put any blame at Clooney's door for this. I feel like he probably, when he took the role, I mean, one, it's Batman, so you go, I'm going to make money. But I'm sure in his head he was thinking, oh yeah, you know, Keaton did a really impressive turn as this. I could do something with this, and then was given the script and the director, and went, oh fucking hell, I just need to get through these 2 weeks as quickly as possibly I can.
Poison Ivy is shit, and Uma Thurman's a good actress, but this is bad.
Well, she needed Tarantino to be spitting on her to get something out of her in this role. I think.
You've got you've got Bane as Luchador Bane, but mindless husk that does nothing. And the only redeeming feature in this film is Arnie as Mr. Freeze, pulling out the best Batman 66 references and one-line puns that would have fit perfectly in that universe. But in this, is so out of place, it hurts. Take Adam West, Batman, Freeze shooting an ice ray at him, eyes to meet you, would be great. It would fit in with everything it was there. But it fucking doesn't work in this. And it's just like, oh.
Is your dislike of it, and bearing in mind it's number 3, so that's quite high, but there's still 2 higher than it. Is your hatred of it tempered at all because of how bad also Batman Forever was before it? So you'd almost been baby steps towards the fact that this was going wrong?
See, I like Batman Forever, but I think it's because of how good Tommy Lee and Jim Carrey are as Riddler and Two-Face that film is carried by them. That I can get over Kilmer being a bit shit.
Yeah.
And my disdain for Chris O'Donnell as Robin.
Yeah. Did he do anything after this? Did he just disappear from Hollywood in shame?
He turns up in CSI, I mean,
there you go.
Or NCIS, or one of those sort of shows.
Seems right. But seems just.
Yeah. But yeah, it is just that thing of like, there's just so many things that are wrong with this, and the neon lights. Why is everything sort of black with neon?
I think they had some sort of sponsorship deal with the neon shop
What,
down the
day
road.
glow.
Yeah,
Day glow paint.
yeah. They were just like, "Fuck, we've got all this neon." And I probably had it for a different movie or something like that. It's probably something stupid like that, isn't it? Where you go, "Okay, like we had this set up. It cost us a few bob. Let's reuse it on the next movie we're going to film. Oh, Batman, yeah, okay, we'll stick it on that."
Yeah, just don't do it, people. Just don't do it.
I am in a brief update. Not that I've been slightly distracted, and I've not found it on a streaming service yet. But I have opened a bookmark up for The Crow Wicked Prayer, starring Tara Reid, so that we remember to find that post show and watch that at some point.
Yes.
Oh my god, Alex got a. You didn't tell me this. Oh no, you did tell me this bit. So I think Tara Reid just killed me. It's Angel as well in it from Angel. Sorry,
David Bonderes.
I think Tara Reid just distracted me from the idea from hearing anything else. I'm just going, oh my god, she's fucking awful. We've got to watch it.
So, what makes your
I was
number
gonna say,
three?
is it me now that I'm coming back
Yes.
from the world of looking up bad Crow sequels? So my number three, and by absolute luck more than design, has the number three in its title, and that is Spider-Man 3. I hate this movie, and I physically, palpably, when I try to talk about it, feel rage building up inside me.
Is it emo Spider-Man? Is
Yeah,
that what gets you?
yeah, and I think it's a bad movie outside of that. I mean, I think that's the thing that's always pointed to. And don't get me wrong, that bit is awful, and I think that is like probably the most egregious singular moment of it. But I don't mind Spider-Man, and I don't mind. And I actually think Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man. I do not probably share the love that a lot of the movie audience does for this is the franchise. But again, much like I said about X-Men 1 and 2, I think they're important movies because I think they do tell the world and they find a big enough audience to say superheroes can hold up franchises and do good things. But because that 1 and 2 were fundamentally good, when I heard that they were going to be doing the Venom storyline, I thought, brilliant. It would be really, really nice to see Venom introduced to a wider audience and introduced in a way like you said about Venom movie. Where I have some sympathies with that is it was almost like cold dropped in there, whereas this is being done in a Spider-Man movie, so you can tell the excellent story that is Venom coming in. Okay, you skip over the bit where Spider-Man went on a secret war, found a costume in an alien thing, but ultimately every other story beat you can do, and it is there, and it has been written before, and it has been written brilliantly, and it has been delivered brilliantly, and you have paid for this franchise, you have paid for these stories, and yes, you may want to bring a slight bit of your own tone to it, and then you produce this, and I don't understand. And again, I know there's people that like this. I know there's people in the Renaissance men who have tried to defend this. This is a fucking car crash. It's an absolute car crash of a movie, and not quite as bad as X-Men Last Stand for this, because I think it did have its fans. But I think this was again very close and very lucky not to destroy superhero movies for a long time, because this took this took the premise that we'd seen in 1 and 2 and the universe had built, and it flipped on its head in a very bad way. And that emo dancing Peter Parker and being, as I say, the most egregious moment of that. I mean, I watched it in the cinema and I was fuck you for doing this to comic book movies, because I think this had a large chance of all those people who'd always said like comic books are for kids. It had suckered some of them in with what they did in 1 and 2, and they pissed all over that with this movie. And yeah, it's a bad movie, and I think it was very bad for a particularly good storyline it's been written for you fucking dickheads. Just film it. And bad for the comic book movie industry.
Is it hurt predominantly because they also have Sandman, which there's no need for that Sandman storyline?
I mean, funny enough, I think if they'd have gone for the Sandman story, well, no, tell a lie. If they'd have had the Sandman in it, I think I'd have been happy. The Sandman storyline is horrible as well, isn't it? The kind of the link into, and again, a terrible thing that I think bad movies do and bad movie franchises do is feel the need to interlink everything at every step. Everything doesn't need to be interconnected. But yeah, just I'm going to shut up about it because I can feel myself getting angry even thinking about it, and I don't want to be angry. But I hate this movie, and it surprises me that two made it above it, but somehow two movies have made it above this.
So next we have some honourable mentions from a listener, Chris, who is my better half's work colleague. So his honourable mentions: Judge Dredd, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Steel, Elektra, Catwoman, 302, SimCity
Oh, I forgot
2.
302 existed. I've seen that as well. Shit.
Yep.
And Sin City 2, that shit.
Yep. Howard the Duck, Hulk, the 2003 version. I dispute Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck is in that. It's so bad, it's good.
Yeah. Same here. It's not a good movie, but I have a lot of love for it. I really do. I have a lot of affection.
But his top 5: Netflix's Death Note, 4, Dark World, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Justice League, and X-Men: Dark Phoenix.
So, not to overly like go into this one when we haven't the others, but I'm quite an interest in this because I think some stuff that maybe that I don't think is going to appear on our top 5s. But League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, that was one I considered because I think the comic book of it is amazing, and the movie is not amazing. But again, it kind of it got out on 2 criteria for me. At certain points, it's so bad it's good, and also I think we know so much about why it's bad, and that was pretty much that Sean Connery went fuck off. I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that. I mean, I believe I am right here. This is the movie where the director actually threatened to kill Sean Connery. That's how bad it was on set. So yeah, I give it some outs on that. What was the other ones on there? There was one that particularly stood out for me, which
was it Death Note?
Yeah.
Because that was the one that your face went up on when I said Death Note.
It's hard because the director of Death Note is brilliant. Death Note is my favorite anime of all time, and I haven't watched a lot of anime, but I will struggle to think that anything will ever beat Death Note. I love Death Note, and I love the manga of it as well. And I think it's weaker than the anime was, and it's weaker than the manga was. And I know it draws a lot of heat and a lot of hatred, but I think the problem is that it's too long a story to make into a movie, and I think they actually tried their best. But yeah, I do kind of hold with it a bit of going, I can see why people don't like it, but I just don't think it's. And again, you can say, well, maybe you just shouldn't do it, but I just don't think it's possible to make into a movie, and that's probably its fault more than anything else.
Yeah, some things that are best as a series and the film. Also, the other ones on there: Justice League and X-Men: Dark Phoenix.
I mean, X-Men: Dark Phoenix is horrible, and much like I said about X-Men 3: The Last Stand, how can you fuck up the Phoenix story? And then they did it again. But I kind of didn't want both on there. I do think X-Men: The Last Stand is the worst of the two, and also I think the truth of it is by the time they were making Dark Phoenix, they knew that they weren't going to be making X-Men movies any longer. So really, they phoned it in and went, "Fuck, we just need to get this last one out the door. Just do it." Which doesn't give it an out. They still should have made an effort. But yeah, I dislike Last Stand more than I dislike Dark Phoenix.
They're both bad.
They're both bad. They're both bad. And then we said about like one of the things that makes this list hard is other than like a couple of little bits where we've gone, it's maybe it's so bad it's good. Like, there's been a lot of movies mentioned so far, and these are all really bad movies. Like the stuff that's on these lists. So that's why this was quite hard to do, because there are some absolute rotters out there.
Yes. My number 2 can be summed up in
We should have
one
made.
word.
We should have made our number 2s the number 1, shouldn't we? To signify this is such a bad film. We've given it a number 2.
The one word that sums up this film: Martha.
See, I'm okay. Go, you go. I'm going to shut up for a little while.
3 fucking hours of dull bollocks where they hate each other. It's all right. We've got the same mum name. Oh, ain't that wonderful? Fuck off. Oh, it drags. It's boring, and means fuck all because you get to the end of it and yeah, wow, but our mums had the same name. Oh, isn't that wonderful? You like this, don't you?
No, I don't. I don't. I want it on record. I do not like this movie. I do not like this movie. I don't dislike it as much as I know a lot of other people do. And um, uh, this is going to say more about the DC universe movies than my like or dislike of this movie. I think this is the second best movie they've made behind Wonder Woman. I haven't seen The Suicide Squad yet. I will say that, but that's how I think Justice League is worse than this, and I think
Well, I haven't
Superman
seen
Man.
Justice League because I can't commit 4 hours to
but I think
gouging my own eyes out.
I dislike Man of Steel more than I dislike this one. But yeah, it is. I do think it's crap. I want that on record. I do think it's crap. I just yeah, I think there are worse DC Universe movies than this. I don't even hate the Martha bit. I hate so many other parts of this movie more than I hate the Martha bit, and I know that's the bit that is always kind of drawn on, and I can see why. But I think it's just clunky movie making. I think ultimately it doesn't really matter that their mums were the same name. I think the idea was just done quite badly. Is that they find a connective issue of going, you are not a totally detached alien. You have a connection with a human being like I did, and things like that. But yeah, done very Snyder clunky thing. But yeah, in no way am I saying it shouldn't be on. This is a fucking terrible movie. It is absolutely bollocks. But it wouldn't have come close to mine because I think there are actually 5 or 6 worse DC movies that were released in and around it than this. But yeah, they're all terrible apart from Wonder Woman, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's the fact I actually went to the cinema and to see this and paid to have the premium super seats and paid like 20 quid.
I guess at least they were
privilege.
comfortable. At least you were comfortable while watching shit.
So yeah, no. Even comfortable seats do not help this in any way, shape, or form.
No, in fact, if anything, maybe the answer should be the other way, and maybe it should be uncomfortable seats. Maybe it should be like taking penance whilst watching this. Maybe that would have made it more pleasure and pain there. I don't know. Yeah, terrible movie. I just I can't divorce myself from that the others are as bad, if not worse. And I quite like the bat armor. If there's one good thing I'm going to say about it, I quite liked. Oh, actually, maybe this would go against it because I'm going to say I quite like the kind of Dark Knight, Frank Miller, bat armor-esque sort of leaning towards that. But then maybe I should hate it for that, for taking something off of something great and mixing it into this. How they didn't realize at this point that the DC movie universe was terrible, I don't know. However, very recently, I started to watch some YouTube videos. Who'd watch YouTube videos, about people's love of it. Like there's still a groundswell of bring back the Snyder universe, and I don't know who these people are, but we need to help these people.
There are people that quite like to have their balls kicked and be shit on.
Yeah, we need to find these people and be nice to them and give them something good to watch, because I fear for them and their sanity.
Yes. So what makes your Number 2.
Well, it's our first repeat of the list. It is, I think it was your 4, I want to say. God, it was so long ago. Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. I don't think I don't think it creates the visceral hatred that Spider-Man 3 does. Because I think at least this is terrible. I mean, this is the acting in it is appalling. The scripting is appalling. For the most part, the effects are appalling. But the worst part of it for me is exactly what you said earlier: is what they do with the Galactus and the Silver Surfer story. Now, again, widely recognised as one of the greatest stories told in comic books, certainly for the age that it was told, so many years ahead of its curve, and probably pushed comic book writing forward. It was right there for you, fuckos. All you had to do was put it on the movie. You had to switch the cameras on and tell these people, say these words.
Yep.
And they tried to change it, and everything they did changed it for the worse. And one of the things that really kind of stood out for me is so that's enough to get it into second place for me. But then you add into it that the other major plot line they have running is the marriage, the impending marriage of Sue and Reed. And they're dealing with Earth catastrophic elements. They know that something really bad's coming and the world might end. And, I said we're coming back to Jessica Alba. She spends 90% of the movie worrying about her fucking wedding getting off the ground or not. And it makes the heroes horrible because they're as concerned about that as they are the world ending. But why this gets into number 2 is, and this is no defense of Jessica Alba as an actress or not, but this felt like there's an honourable mention I forgot, and I'll get to it now. This felt like, for me, and my other honourable mention is Iron Man. This is boys writing boys comic book stories. And this isn't a good look. And I'm not saying you can't write stories just for men and you can't write stories just for women. Of course you can. But I don't think at the detriment of women or men, whichever other side of the audience is. And this felt like, this felt like a me when I was 14 and didn't understand that there were differences between boys and girls, writing a story where I go, well, all girls, they're just focused on getting married, aren't they? And when the world's ending, they'll just worry about their wedding and whether they'll look pretty on the day. And this was released as a motion picture. This was released into cinemas with characters that I love, characters that I really do love. But someone actually greenlit this and went, yes, this is good. But an absolute fucking abomination. Now, I said earlier, the one after it, probably mechanically worse. The one before it, equally as shit in acting and quality and writing, but this destroys an amazing story. Could have killed movies. Just lucky that Marvel Cinematic Universe had started to get going at this point. And just, I think, offensive in actually the material that's inside it. But number 2, fuck you. Get in the bin, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
So, our almighty leader, the almighty egg, has sent us his presence and brought us a list. I've found.
Oh, you've got it. So I've got it up here if you didn't have it. But
so, in 5th place, Spider-Man 4: The Quest for Peace.
See, and I go, there you go. Like I'm in the egg's mind here. I'm going to be chief of the cult.
In 4th, Spider-Man 2: The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Jamie Foxx and his wonderful Electronus. Number 3, Supergirl.
Do you know what? I might get kicked out of the cult here. I fucking love Supergirl, and
I've never seen it.
And when I say I love it, don't get me wrong. Part of that is it's so bad it's good, but I actually love it as long as I don't equate it to Superman. And I think that's why people dislike it, because they have the Krypton element of the story to it. They add in witches for some inexplicable reason. Don't get me wrong, there's some really ropey storytelling in it where she just lands on Earth in her Supergirl suit that she'd never had before and forgets things for no apparent reason. But I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. It feels like an old school Saturday afternoon when you were a kids movie more than anything else.
Yeah. X-Men Last Stand.
Too right and all.
And his number 1, Batman Forever.
So he thinks Batman Forever's worse than Batman and Robin. Wow.
Yep.
We'll tear him a new one on Friday night show for that.
Yeah, that's not up there. So another list that we have, and this one's a long one, so I will get my trusty reading device ready. From my better half.
And again, a
Bar.
long one, but I've read it also. And the reason why she's getting a long one is one, she put the bloody effort in, people. Put some effort in and we'll read it. But also, it's a cracker.
There are reasonings and explanations behind all of her picks. So in her honourable mentions is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The reason being it's awful and destroyed 2 careers. Number 5, Catwoman. Everything about it offends me. It's just so many levels of shit. It's unwatchable, even with alcohol.
I think it probably is unwatchable. I think she's spot on there.
Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Both films are shit, but what they did to the Silver Surfer is unforgivable. Batman and Robin. Nipples. This is all. Elektra. So bad that she never actually made it all the way through it.
It doesn't
After
get
multiple
better.
attempts.
So just to let you know,
that.
it doesn't get better. So you're all good. You don't have to go back and watch it. It's fine. You got what you needed out of it already.
But the most egregious films to her are X-Men, Last Stand / Dark Phoenix. So I will go verbatim of what she's put here. Okay, so X-Men 2 set up the Dark Phoenix for X-Men 3. Admittedly, not the same as the comic, but still the setup. I could almost overlook the shit dialogue storm from X-Men 1, the terrible custom characterization, Rogue. But then Singer jumped ship to make Superman Returns. Not even going into that. And Last Stand is an absolute mess.
Yeah.
It shits all over the comics.
Yep.
And just doesn't know what it is to do with itself. Having grown up loving X-Men, it was devastating to see. I thought X-Men may have been rescued by First Class, which showed promise. Not perfect, but showed promise. And Matthew Vaughn had accomplished as a director and had at least 2 other films planned before Brian Shit Show Singer had to come back.
Yep.
Vaughn was dumped. We got another 2 Singer films where he tried to basically forget the shit show that had happened, which led to Dark Phoenix, and to quote Ian Malcolm, that's one big pile of shit. X-Men Last Stand ruined X-Men, and I cannot rant anymore.
I 1,000,000% agree with the thoughts and feelings on both of them, and I think she puts it exceptionally well. The only thing that I that want to clarify there, if we need any other reason to hate these, and probably much like I did in my last episode where I tried to win an argument by using Nazis, let's also not forget during this period of time, Bryan Singer, total cunt and a diddler as well. So not only ruined the movies, but was doing it while being an offensively horrific sexual predator as well.
Yeah. So double whammy of cunt.
Yeah. He really, really does take the biscuit for that, doesn't he? What a prick. What a shame as well, because The Usual Suspects is an amazing movie, but should be locked up in a, I will allow him to latch onto Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey as they circle towards the bottom pit of hell,
the realms of hell.
Yeah.
And what can join that is my number 1 film.
Your number 1 film. I'm surprised. Now I'm going to tell you right now, what is your number 1? Isn't what I thought was going to be your number 1, because you've already done what I thought was going to be your number 1. So I'm very intrigued by this.
2016's Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, I forgot how much you hate this movie. I forgot this.
This film is utter garbage.
What? You don't like seeing Will Smith walk up and down streets in slow motion alongside Margot Robbie?
I never want to see Will Smith walking up and down a street ever again. Margot Robbie can go kill herself for how shit she is in all of her portrayals of Harley Quinn. And
Do you know
why
what?
there has to be rain every fucking time there's a scene with her
I don't
for
want
no
to.
apparent reason.
I don't want to defend
Can,
this movie at all because I do know why you. I don't think you're right. I think it's fucking terrible. I just want to quickly say on the Margot Robbie front is I honestly think she could have done a really good Harley Quinn if the fucking shitty writers and directors she had writing and directing it didn't just portray it and misunderstand the character so badly. And yes, the fucking rain. And that's why I think I hate Birds of Prey more, because they actually they set off sprinklers inside a prison when there's no fire, just so that she gets wet in the scene and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I feel like Margot Robbie had a good Harley Quinn in there somewhere. Just these people were never going to get it out of her.
it's never been seen.
No.
And you've then got the awful abomination. And my main reason why I fucking hate this
I
film.
hadn't even considered this, and now that you're started saying that sentence, I know exactly where you're going to go, and now I can see why you hate it so much. Yeah,
the cunt who believes himself some form of cult leader, Jared fucking Leto.
the Letoka.
He fucking this version of fucking Joker. Fuck me. Never have we ever had Joker with shit tons of tattoos going because you can't just do that, looking like an absolute dickhead. And if I ever see anyone say, oh, I want a relationship like Harley and Joker
Yeah,
because of this fucking film, needs their heads fucking examined. Harley and Joker is an abusive relationship
yeah.
where a man has physically broken the mental state of a woman, given her long-term Stockholm syndrome, and abuses his power and his will against her on a daily basis.
It's heartbreaking as a human being in this world when you see pictures of people cosplaying as the two of them, and you go, "Oh, you just don't fucking get it, do you? You just don't get it. Like, what's happened to you? Like, yeah, I'm with you on that. It is horrific. Yes,
And that's before we go on about how awful he is as the Joker, and just if we could just make this disappear from existence and wipe everyone's minds that has ever seen it, Men in Black style, the
you know,
world would be a better place.
you said about like how he looks. I I would be partially, or I would have been partially up for like a Batman project or something like that, where this was someone's take on the Joker, because it's dramatically different, isn't it? Like, kind of pretty much the only thing it has in common is green hair and white face. And you kind of go, okay, if you were going to really lean into doing something amazingly and dramatically different, it might work. I'm not saying it would, it might. I don't get it in this movie. Like, and it's almost like they had so little confidence in what they were making it. They went, oh, we better stick a fucking Joker in. And then they did this one. And I think it's even worse because of doing this rendition in this movie. Whereas I think if you had a strong Batman or a particular universe that you'd built up where you went, everything's a little bit wonky, kind of an Elseworlds thing, I could maybe buy into it a bit. But yeah, like they almost go, no, this is kind of the universe you think it is, and this is Joker, and you go, well, it's fucking not, is it? Like, and it's not done very well. But
And then they
yeah.
because obviously we get Batfleck in for a few moments
Yeah.
in it to make sure that we all know that this is canon and this is the Bat universe of the time. Fuck you, get in the bin. I never want to see it again.
It's hugely boring as well. I want that on record. You know, we
Yeah.
said this on a couple of other ones. Like the movie is
It's dull as fuck.
yeah, and like it is pretty much just a series of walking scenes and explosions, and as you say, rain over and over again. And probably sort of again testament to the DC cinematic universe for me of going that they put this in the hands of some really bad creators, and I think Snyder being the worst was I think Snyder set the tone, and I think other people were hired to kind of keep that Snyder tone, which is problematic because it's not good. But this had a cast, like we go back to things we said earlier. I think hopefully it's come across in a lot of what we've picked is these are the big budget movies. We've not gone and picked on the little ones that were given £5 to go and make their movie and said, like, try and do one. Because, like, when you're trying to make superhero stuff, it's particularly hard to make it look good at the best of times. But these are people who have gone and had enough money to get actors that, whether you love them or hate them, have certainly appeared in enough other stuff that they should know the fuck what they're doing. They've been able to hopefully have enough budget to hire writers and directors and effects and things like that. And I look at something like this and I go, and this is what you come up with. I mean, weirdly enough, like one of the few things I would go into its credit with is that it actually tippy-toed into kind of some DC-esque storylines, like having the Enchantress as one of the major characters stroke major villains. I think probably quite brave in the idea, but executed really badly. So even like the one positive is destroyed almost instantaneously by a negative. But like Will Smith, like whether you like Will Smith or not, like fuck me, that boy's phoning this one in, isn't he? And Joel Kinnaman, like again, same thing. I'm not a big fan of his anyway, but phoning it in. Robbie, as I think, at least tries. But she's trying on a bad script and bad direction, and again,
but that is now what we have as what the majority of people think Harley is.
Yeah.
And it's not. And that's where there are far too many people in this world that won't ever read the source material, watch the original animated series where they fucking invented Harley and her character comes to be, and we'll see that as what Harley Quinn is, that fucking Joker Harley Quinn relationship as kooky couple, and think that that's fine. And I'm just, it offends me on far too many levels for too many things that happen in it.
Well, I said to you, like, I've got it spiraling down to the depths of hell, embraced with Birds of the Prey movies. So clearly, I do hate it. I'm with you. I'm no way am I disputing that it's not terrible. Again, didn't even make my honourable mentions because I think there's worse DC Universe movies, which again should tell you how fucking bad the DC Universe movies are. But yeah, I certainly do not dispute any of the points you're making and why you hate it so much. And yes, I do think, much in the same way as I said about like the depiction of Sue Storm in Rise of the Silver Surfer, I think yes, you have damaging portrayals of characters. We've talked about it on previous shows about how there's a difference between creating someone as an anti-hero and showing the villains in such a light that people would start to hero worship them, when that's not actually fundamentally what their story is. A very dangerous piece of creativity. I think maybe the only thing that I give them an out on is I think they're so fucking bad at making movies they didn't even realise that's what they were doing.
Yeah, though at least the redo Suicide Squad is watchable.
I will get round to that. I kind of, I mean, for me, I think at this stage, I think a lot of the ones that I have picked, I've talked about how I think they were so bad and potentially could have been the death knell of superhero movies, and they were potentially damaging to it as an art form, as a craft or whatever. But having said all that, for me, I think they need to destroy the DC universe and start again. But I mean, I see there's future movies coming out that are based with some of those characters. I'm sure they'll tweak it. But I don't think they have learnt their lessons yet. But I think this as a group of movies needs, chuck them all in the fire and start again. I think
they do need to be cleansed with fire. Obviously, my reason of hating it is on different levels, but my personal vitriol of Leto and his portrayal of Joker, and also Robbie and her portrayal of Harley. So
Yeah,
I mean that's why it gets more of a kicking for me than just
it sounds like your hate levels for it are like kind of that hate levels I had for Spider-Man 3, that kind of pure visceral anger when you even have to
yeah.
consider that it exists.
It's one of those of I watched it when I'm pretty sure it wasn't that bad. It couldn't have been that bad. Was it really that bad that I had to watch it twice to just prove that it was that bad? And then
Ah, there's something in
I
that though, isn't
burnt
there?
the DVD.
Sometimes like you end up unfortunately watching a bad movie more than you've watched a good movie purely because you can't believe quite what you've seen. Um, but yeah, in this
But
case,
yeah,
yeah, it's shit.
it's had its two watches just to confirm the shit list, and it will never be seen again. And everyone
Yeah, fair play.
else, don't ever watch it. Never.
And,
Ne-
and you know,
not
like,
even out of like crazy curiosity. It can't be that. Yes, yes, it is.
well, no, you know, like as we say in all of our episodes, you know, it'll be really interesting to sort of see in the comments what people, what their top fives are, and maybe like where they think like maybe one of the movies we picked is let's say good or they like it or whatever. But yeah, I'll be shocked, and I'll probably be sending some degree of medical help to anyone who tries to defend that movie as a good movie.
Or try and make me change my mind on it.
I like the idea of picking that as a group watching the Renaissance Men coming up soon, just to make you have to watch it a third time.
I hate you.
Yeah,
So
I
on
wouldn't do that
that,
to you, baby.
what is your number one?
So my number one is what I thought was going to be your number one, but I knew it wasn't because it had already made your list. My number one is Batman and Robin. I think this is, if you were going to make a perfect movie of a bad comic book movie, I think they made it with this. I think it does everything wrong. As you said earlier, nipples, like adding those ridiculous things onto the suits. Clooney is terrible in this. O'Donnell is terrible in this. Silverstone is terrible in this. Thurman is terrible in this. I don't share any of the Arnie stuff. Arnie is fucking terrible in this. And but to be honest, I think it's about the extent that Arnie has in his acting arsenal, but he's fucking terrible in this. This looks garish. This looks horrible. The the neon design of everything, the really tight enclosed sets for
Yeah,
everything. Like they spent all this money, but everyone feels like they're in a room no bigger than the room I'm in now. Um, the plot is ridiculous. And okay, yeah, but a lot of people say comic book plots can be ridiculous. This doesn't even make sense in and of itself. The humor in it is so misplaced. It is not funny. The fucking bat credit card, and they do the line of "I'll never leave the house without it" and stuff like that. These are really really bad. Now, as a counterbalance, we have talked how much we love Batman 66. This ain't fucking Batman 66. Like, and anyone who says, oh, you know, like, oh, it's fine, you know, they were trying to go back to that campier one. No, no, they weren't. This was a really bad filmmaker making a really bad film who probably had watched some Batman 66 and thought, oh, you know, we could do something a bit different here. But no, this was a vehicle to sell toys, and a really bad vehicle to sell toys because kids would not like this and adults would not like this. This undoes everything that, whether you love Burton Batman or not, Burton actually reinvigorated superhero movies with what he did with that. And they, if you wanted to do a movie this way, this is a reboot. You cannot do this in the universe established. And I do not share your love for Batman Forever. And I didn't jump on it at the time because I know we're in this. I think Tommy Lee Jones and Kerry are shit in it. And they can fuck off into hell as well in the bin. I think they're terrible. And I think Forever is awful. But this doesn't even feed off of that. This is a movie in a franchise that bears no relation to the rest of the franchise other than some of the characters have the same name and come back. This could have killed I talk about all the others. This is the one that I am still surprised to this day that this didn't kill comic book movies. I am shocked that anyone ever gave anyone a reasonable budget again after this. And it's probably only luck that a load of us watched it because we didn't realize it was going to be as bad as it was, that brought any money back to allow superhero movies to continue. But this is the biggest example for me of a movie that could have killed. And like we've said this before, like for a lot of time, comic books what have been my dirty little secret,
Yeah.
and probably the only chance I ever had of, and not that it matters that it's legitimized, but it being legitimized in other people's eyes who've never read it, was things like TV and movie. And fuck me, this made me embarrassed for a long time. I couldn't have told anyone for a good 10 plus years, probably even longer. As I said earlier, I nearly didn't come back to Nolan's Batman because this had left such a bad taste that I thought I might be done with Batman movies forever at this point.
Yeah.
Fucking dumpster fire.
It is. Yeah, it said it was in my top 3. It was in Sarah's. It's in yours. It's lots of people have brought this one to the list. Says a lot about it.
Yeah, and like it was obviously a big budget affair, but it didn't. What it didn't do, I guess, is it didn't do what Silver Surfer did. It didn't do what Last Stand did. It didn't do what Spider-Man 3 did. Is it didn't shit over a comic book story because they didn't really take it from a comic book story. They just took the characters, didn't they? But yeah, I mean, so maybe they get a little bit of an out for not fucking up something I love more than just being really bad at it. But yeah, just pish, man. Like embarrassing. That's probably the best term I've got for it. This movie is embarrassing. I watched this and I'm embarrassed for everyone who's in it, me watching it, and me liking stuff that it's based off of. That's how damaging this movie was.
So watching it every week, then, yeah.
I pretty much, Friday night viewing after the show every week. Just very quickly before we shift on. Just thought it was worth sort of mentioning that commonly across the viewer lists, a lot of hatred for Catwoman. That really did appear quite a lot, and one that neither you nor I mentioned, and I just thought maybe we could touch on it quickly because there was a lot of dislike for this in there, was Green Lantern.
I can't shit on a film that I've never seen.
Oh, well, do you know what? Like, I'd be interested for you to watch it and see. Weirdly enough, I don't hate it. That it's a movie that, and I know, like, even within his own movies, Ryan Reynolds likes to shit on it. Again, studio interference clearly cost that, and I give it a bit of an out because I think there was a good movie there. I think maybe when they first started making it, there was a good movie there, and studio interference and budget probably really impacted it more than anything else. But yeah, I feel sorry for Green Lantern more than hate it, I guess is the honest truth.
Yeah, it's one of those because I've been told by so many people that it's shit. I've never seen it, and it's not on any streaming things, so
probably
it's not one of those that you can easily find. So I'm not going to put my hand in my pocket to watch something that's
no. I mean, like I don't mind.
Shit.
I don't mind watching bad movies. Sometimes I find it quite fun, but I'm with you. I'm certainly not going to pay good money to watch something that someone's told me shit. That would be lunacy.
So next week we are going old school.
We really are, aren't we? We're going proper old school.
We're going back, way back into time with issue 27 of Detective Comics, issue 1 of Superman, and issue 10 of, and I can't remember what it was called.
Sensational Comics.
Sensational Comics, yes. And seeing the first issues with Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman.
Thanks to our hopefully new show sponsor, Amazon, for having these on Prime Reading. But yeah, we saw them on there, didn't we? And Comixology. Yeah, we said, do you know what? It'd be really interesting to we said it, I think, on the TV episode where we said like some things were way before our time and probably haven't aged well, and we said it would be really nice to go back to for freezies and go back and see some of these really old stories and maybe find whether we love it or whether it's clunky and really hard. But it'd be an interesting avenue to go down that we've not tried before, I think.
Yeah, so go and see what comics in the 30s look like, and
Speaking very quickly, I know we said it a minute ago about not paying for really shit movies. The Tara Reid vehicle that is Crow Wicked Prayer is available on Amazon for £3.49, and also on Apple TV for £3.49. Not available anywhere for free on streaming. So if we want to watch that, we're paying for it.
I don't think I can put my hand in my pocket on that one.
No.
Not even £3.50.
No.
But obviously, we will be looking at some old school shit. As I said, it will be. I'm intrigued to see how the medium looked in its original form, and how it holds up to a first time read.
Yeah, and the thing is,
80,
it'll be
80, 90 years down the line.
And it'll be a first time read for both of us, won't I? I mean, like, as much as I've been a comic book fan for a long time, there's scant of the original ones that I've ever really read, and much of that was because of money. Couldn't really afford them, but even on the Marvel side, there's not a. I've kind of read all the early Fantastic Fours, and I've read the early Avengers. I do actually have. I've recently got the early Thor and early Spider-Man to start reading, but yeah, I really haven't read stuff from back then, so I'm really intrigued to see how I feel about it. And I think one of the interesting sort of vehicles this is going to be is, can we equate what we see then to what it actually ultimately becomes? Because from such beginnings, if we kind of go, well, this is a bit shit, how did this get this far? But yeah, I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, so that will be issue 23, back in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah. I might even do a retro backdrop for us for it.
Or can you get some graining look for the visuals, for the cameras?
Probably not, mate. We're if we were doing it on any other platform than the one we're on, I'd say yes, but no, on this platform, you get what you're fucking given on the cameras, and you like it.
So that being said, like, subscribe, ring the bells, do all the YouTubey things. As always, watch the other content on the channel. We have the Friday show where it's a free for all of all the wonderfulness.
We're a lot more negative than we are on this one.
Yes. Said you have your TEW.
I am. I'm a professional wrestling booker now, except for the professional part of it. But yeah, I'm saving ECW from what actually happened to it in the real world.
Also, the pop videos, will they be making a return?
They will do. But strangely enough, and this is the confession point, I actually have about 15 that I just need to finish and upload. But I kind of hit a bit of a wall with couldn't be asked to finish them and upload them, and I kept telling myself next week, but I probably will in the next couple of weeks. But by the time this comes out, this will give me at least about a month. I probably will crack on because I actually am. And when I turn to the right, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I know there's one at the post office. So 6 mystery boxes that I haven't even unboxed. They're still with tape on, and I also have, to my eternal shame, one of the listeners, but also a friend, bought me a Christmas present that I said I'd do on a pop video that I still haven't unwrapped because I haven't done a pop video yet. But there will be some pop stuff coming back, yeah.
And obviously, we also have Stu doing his gaming sessions, usually on a Saturday.
And with Little Egg as well, wasn't it? Big Egg, yes. Little Egg. So
with the little one, and potentially by the time you hear this, the Jimmy Star Trek show.
If Jimmy ever actually reads the release schedule for a TV show and doesn't tell us a month beforehand, he's recording the first episode because Picard's out, and but realizes the show doesn't actually release till a month later. But yeah, hopefully we'll have some Jimmy solo Star Trek content on the channel in the near future.
So plenty of things that you can enjoy throughout your week. And then obviously come back every Sunday for more of this.
Yeah,
And
you know, if
until
you're going to pick
next
one
time,
show, just watch this one. Fuck the others. But you know,
yeah.
like if you, yeah,
But there's 7 days in a week. We only take up, a couple of hours of one of your days.
yeah.
So, get on the rest of it for the rest of the week. And until good next time, goodbye.